Creations, Friday Fundamentals. The world has become so close that every week we are inviting people for the webinars on different topics. As you know, the previous Wednesday we had leadership and digital area. And there we discussed how the leader can leverage on the digital power that we have. Today, it is more close to heart and it is more close to people, one to one, one to many, and many to one. Welcome you all for this webinar where we are going to talk leading with inclusion. And we have with us today for this Miss Vaijayanti Naik, who is the Executive Council member of Bombay Management Association, a Senior Vice President, Head of Wholesale Banking, HR, and Diversity, Inclusion, Equity at Axis Bank. She is a seasoned HR professional and has passion for leadership and capability development, building cultures for sustainable business, change management, and coaching for success. She believes that the strategic levers that truly impact business and need to be deeply embedded in the fabric of business strategy can be done through these initiatives. In her present role at Axis Bank, she leads the change and culture agenda for the wholesale banking business and champions the diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda for bank. She believes that building equitable workplaces and leveraging true diversity builds a sustainable culture and a distinctiveness for the bank. She is passionate about driving the agenda for inclusivity and working on building a diverse talent pool. During her long career in her previous stints, she has had leadership positions across spectrum of organizations in the BFSI sector. She has worked for organizations with scale and reputation like the ICICI Group, BNP Paribas, HDFC, General Insurance, and she has handled multiple roles, worked across matrixed organization at CHRO. An alumnus of JBIMS, Vaijayanti is also a certified coach and is pursuing learning French as a part of her interest in learning about different cultures. Vaijayanti is also certified as leadership assessment tool called as the Leadership Circle. Along with Vaijayanti today, we also have Harish. Harish from Axis Bank only. He heads the diversity, equity, and inclusion at Axis Bank. Harish, an active voice for animal, children, and LGBTQIA plus community, has taken a natural progression from changing the policies and laws of the country to framing policies and creating meaningful change and acceptance in the corporate world. Professionally, Harish brings in the richness of experience in advertising, advocacy, and social consciousness in his strategies and ideas. One of the most celebrated voices in LGBTQIA space globally, Harish is the only Indian national who finds a mention in the Guardian's World's Pride Power List, a list of 100 most influential queer persons in the world. Harish is also a part of children's book on 50 queer heroes of the world, living and dead, with the likes of Ellen DeGeneres, Sappho, Havermill, Elton John, and others. Harish is part of a special advisory group of LGBT rights by National Human Rights Commission and is an alumnus of alumni of Human Rights Champion and International Visitor Leadership Program by the Department of States, United States of America. Very passionate about the animals and also about the inclusion of all types of people in our day-to-day working corporate life. I am happy that both Harish and Vaijayanti are here today to sensitize us towards these issues, which are very, very important in making people understand that differences are not crimes. We all are different and we all are same from within. The external differences that we see are only marginal, and we together can make it, and we together can build it. Thank you, Vaijayanti and Harish, for agreeing to come to this webinar. I'm very excited because, for last few months we had been talking about it, and goosebumps in me. So we're looking forward to a very interesting and very what I can say, that I want people to realize the differences are not what we should blame to. So over to you, Vaijayanti and Harish, all yours, and looking forward to a great discussion after your presentation. My request to all my colleagues on this call is, please feel free to make your comments, give your questions in the chat box, and Vaijayanti and Harish definitely will try and address them. So over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. And thank you so much, Kavita, for the wonderful introduction that you gave. And I hope that, we will not disappoint you. You spoke about, a session to sensitize. Only thing is I want to say is, we're going to get more self-aware, because sensitizing, I think we are all sensitive people. It's just that because of where we come from, because of our own life experiences, sometimes, we look at different people differently. So this is really about building awareness. And of course, this subject is so complex. It's so ever evolving that both I and Harish has been in this field for so long himself as an activist. And I've been, of course, wearing the HR hat. As an HR person, I've been at it for so many years. We still don't have all the answers. But what we want to do is through provoking you a little bit. Okay, so you don't mind if, Harish has a slightly more combative style than me. So between the two of us, we will want to provoke you. We want to make you think. And we will leave you, we hope, a little bit more aware of the environment around us, right? So, inclusion is a word that is understood very differently by different people. But what really, I think, when you try to understand inclusion, I think it's important to also get a handle on what creates exclusion, right? When people do not feel a sense of belonging. So, our presentation is going to be very interactive. That much I promise you all. And I will please request all of you to participate a lot, do ask questions. I know the format is Zoom, but still, it doesn't matter. We are a bunch of professionals. So whatever queries you have, you can just unmute and ask, or you may type it out, or whichever way it goes. I don't want to stop the flow of your thoughts. So if you're getting a query, do type it out. Okay. So whilst the format is a presentation, it's not going to be, we hope that it will not be very boring. We are not here to give you a lecture at all. It's a subject we want to explore with you. Okay. So with that promise, we now begin. So Harish, you want to start the presentation?
Yes, I'll just do that. Okay. So I'm going to ask the $1 million question. Is the slide visible?
The second $1 million
visible.
And the second question, are we audible? So,
yeah.
You are audible and the slide is clear and visible.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we went through these introductions, but forget about this. Let's delve into the subject. But before that, okay, a small little exercise for all of you. Okay, which we've called Give Me 5. And we run this exercise a lot in the organization that we belong to. And, always came up with some interesting stuff. So what you got to do, if you have a pen and a paper, please pick it up. Okay. And Harish, just go to the next slide. You in your mind, think of 5 people besides your family. This is not to include your family. Okay. Who form a part of your trusted circle. 5 people besides your family who form a part of your trusted circle. So how many minutes do you want to do this? Shall we give you? Harish, what do you think?
I think 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're done? Everybody? 5 people besides your family who form a part of your trusted circle. Okay, we'll move further.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Write down the names like this. Sorry, we are sounding like a little bit like a teacher, but because the medium is, virtual, sometimes you have to over specify. So write down these names. Harish, another 10 seconds or maybe 20 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these people could be people you reach out to at in times of crisis. These could be people who you consult most of the time. They know things. They know your vulnerabilities. They know your things. They can guide you better than you, and all those characters. They are a part of your trusted circle.
Yeah. These are maybe a little bit like your 4 a.m. friends. They know you. Perhaps in as much as you know yourself, maybe they know parts about you that you don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Move further.
Yes. Now, against these names, just write down the qualifications, age, profession, gender. Just do this. So Harish, अभी कितने seconds ने 30?
हाँ इतना अगर वो ट्रस्टेड सर्कल के पार्ट है, इतना तो पता ही होना चाहिए.
हाँ.
ये मतलब तकरीबन, I mean, you don't have to pick up the phone and ask them. You would have a fair idea. You don't need to know the date of birth, but at least an approximate idea about the age, about what they do, the gender, of course. Qualifications se matlab hai one of their top qualifications. Just pen that down as well in a notepad or physical or digital. Just pen that down.
Shall we, Harish?
Yes.
Now ask them the
question. Yes.
Okay. All right. So now look at your list and tell us, what are you seeing there? Is there a pattern in your trusted circle? Harish, you may want to go to the next slide. Take a pause and see the names. What do you see there? Any responses?
Yeah.
Any responses?
You can write on the chat box. If there's any response, just put your responses on the chat box. What do you see? Is there something specific that you see? What is the intelligence that you draw from this? You put in names of 5 people, you put in their qualifications, you put in their gender. Is there a pattern that you see or a pattern that you don't see?
Do you see a random list of people or do you see a pattern? Let's ask that question, right? Kavita says, all whom I have known for many years, a diverse lot of people in qualification, age and occupation, says Tasneem. Okay. That's great. That's great. Anybody else? All of them who have contributed. Okay. All right. Do you see any gender patterns there?
More female,
more
says.
women. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So just to share, an interesting, call it anecdote or piece of data, anecdotal evidence is when we run this session, on men, predominantly, their trusted circle is largely men. So when I ran this exercise on myself, it was almost 60-70% women. Of course, I had a few men who were part of my trusted circle, but that's how it is. Sheetal says they are all between 20-22 years and mostly women. Yeah,
Sheetal,
correct.
are you a student?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's right. So that's the whole point we're trying to make. Our trusted circle, people we go, when we want advice, when we seek some opinion, when we seek a point of view, we seek out people from a certain framework. Either they went to school with us, so they are of that particular type, or they are all women, or they are all men. Or if you came from, say, JBIMS, then largely your circle is that, or IIM Ahmedabad, then your circle is that. So that's the thing about life, right? Life tends sometimes for us to move along with tribes of a certain kind. Okay, so this is what this is the point we're trying to make, is if we look at our trusted circle, so the people who influence our thoughts, people who create our paradigms, they are the ones we seek out, all have a lot of similarities, correct? And that sometimes creates its own challenges for us when we encounter people who are different from us. Harish, you want to share who were a part of your trusted circle?
My trusted circle were all activists of some kind or the other. So they all spoke a certain language. They all read a kind of a kind of pattern in what they were reading. The kind of movies they were watching were also very similar. So there was a lot of similarity, which I never thought. I thought I had a very diverse bunch of people. But then when I ran this exercise, I could see that it's not a it might seem very diverse, but when I went into intricacies of started mapping them on different parameters, I saw that that a lot of them were, I'm gender fluid, so a lot of them were gender of various genders. So it was a mixed group, but all of them had an activistic activistic bone in them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So these are our tribes. This is who we are comfortable with, right? And therefore, it creates that whole challenge that we talk about in driving inclusion. So this was just food for thought for you, but do focus on the word pause. We are using it with a little bit of purpose here, and we'll come to that a little bit later. Yeah, Harish, just move on.
Okay, so most often these all are terms that we have heard. Either Philip Kotler has taught us or somebody else has taught us, and these we have heard all the time. Okay. How many times have we addressed a gathering saying, "Hello, girls, how are you all doing?" A gathering that has Rajiv, the gathering that has all the men as well. How often have we gone to a forum where even men are in a minority, okay, where you have said that, "Hey girls, how are you doing?" You have started the session or a conversation like that. Guys has become a gender neutral term, okay, but girls has not become a gender neutral term, a gender inclusive term, right? So many a times the language that we use is exclusionary, even without we realizing. We have not even realized that many a times it's exclusionary. What is the difference between a woman and a female? Okay, the difference is that my dog is female, my cat is male, okay, but a woman is a woman. Customer is king, Customer can be queen as well. Customer could be the king, could be everything. It could be something neutral. But we often are told, ladies and gentlemen, do we know that gender is beyond two? It's not just ladies and gentlemen. There could be trans people there. So the right way of addressing in the present term would be hello, everybody. Okay, not going and saying ladies and gentlemen and trans men and trans women and intersex people and people who belonging to different castes and different creeds and so hello, everybody. Now, language and society is transient. It's always changing. It's not static. Okay. There was an article recently I read about differently abled and a lot of places, even we need to work. We are not saying that Axis Bank or us, we are very evolved. We are also in that journey. Okay. And we will get better with time, but at least we are aware of the journey that we are in. And we all need to be aware. We all will not reach everywhere, every time. So differently abled. Now, I'm differently abled than Vaijayanti. Vaijayanti is differently abled than me. Okay. We feel, so many differently abled people find it condescending. There are many differently abled people who do not like being called differently abled people. They like to be called PWDs, persons with disability. So do we ask before we utter these words? And Vaijayanti can speak about, don't get emotional. You have an interesting anecdote.
Yeah, I know. So maybe some women in this room today will identify. So, I still have a wonderful boss and a mentor, but, I have a tendency when I become passionate, I do express myself quite vigorously. And, we were debating some point and I finally got him to see it the way I was looking at it. And I was feeling very happy that, I managed to convince him with my argument and everything. And at the end of it, he completely deflated my sense of achievement by saying, "Oh, that's okay, Vaijayanti, don't be so emotional." And, I was like, my jaw fell and I felt bad. Okay. And he hadn't even realized the impact that had on me as a person. He just didn't get it. And then, how it is in corporation, sometimes word travels back and they get to know. And then he came and said, "I didn't know. You felt bad about this." I said, "Yeah, because how many times would you tell a man, oh, don't get so emotional?" You would call them passionate, but, sometimes we get called emotional. So that's the whole thing, right? I mean, we just use words just like that. I mean, hey, guys, I have myself used this. And honestly, it was Harish who pointed it out and said, "Are, Vaijayanti, then use hey girls," right? It had become so much part of our lingo that even I didn't feel anything wrong in it. We would all say, "Hey guys, how is it going?" And he said, "Okay, why don't you try hey girls?" So it's like that, the words that we use, but the impact on the other. I think inclusion is caring about the impact our words have on others. It's very simple because from where they come, like for my boss, and he's still my mentor and he still, watches out for me. But he also didn't get it, what impact it was having on me. So that's the thing with language. The language needs to evolve, right? I mean, today we talk of gender fluid. Harish himself is gender fluid. We are today here talking to you about it. It means that something is shifting. Yeah, Harish. Harish, are you there or are you frozen?
Looks like he's frozen. But Vaijayanti, I have one question here.
Yes, please.
When you are saying don't get so emotional, do you mean that emotionality is a characteristic of female?
Well, I felt it like that because I felt, and this is not just true of me. I have my cousins who live in the US and friends. They also say that many times their bosses, when they get very passionate about something, will, kind of say, "Leave it, don't be so emotional." Okay, so somehow that word, and they don't seem to be saying that to some of the men, and which is why, you know, at least I felt that, you know, it was almost like being emotional as being a woman, and so I kind of resented it. Right. So, and honestly, for my boss also, it was a big revelation that you took it badly. He didn't think at all that I would take it badly.
Do you mean that emotional and objectivity is opposite?
See, but I think you know, what is objective to one person may not be objective to the other. See, even on facts today, people disagree, right? What part of the story we want to say, what do we want to project, we all rely on that. So I think somewhere the only point we were trying to make is that women do get stereotyped sometimes, emotional. Okay. Instead of being, I would have liked it, and maybe that's my personal bias. I would have preferred if I'd been called, oh, you're too passionate about this. I would have felt nicer. Right. So this is it, right? I mean, inclusion means what impact you're having on the other person.
Sure.
Yeah. So how, okay, 1 minute. Harish is not there. Then I will have to share the presentation. Let me just check what happened. Okay. I think I will. Can I share the screen? Is that okay? Okay. We were here. Just please guide me if you're able to see, you know, the slide.
Yes.
Shall I put it on screen, full screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I have voltage fluctuations.
No problem. I think I'll beam it up, Harish, because if you have voltage fluctuations, then you may have difficulty. Let me beam it up then. Okay. All right. So, okay, this is another picture for you, and we put it up because recently the movie 83 got released. Notwithstanding what it did at the box office, but it was quite a seminal moment in cricket, and cricket is something everybody resonates with. So what do you see different? You know, there was a 83 team that won the World Cup, and there is a 2011 team. How are you seeing these teams? Apart from the fact that something happened, you know, pre-liberalization, post-liberalization, the money coming into cricket, forget that. What else are you seeing that is different?
Okay, unity, integrity.
The 83 batch looks like old school. The 2011 batch looks new school.
Okay. Anything else you're noticing? Because we saw this, you know, like there was this intern who actually created this for us. And for us, what hit was a little bit different. Harish, you want to talk about that?
2011 team is more expressive, the joy.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah,
So,
of course.
so I also hear perks and visibility, diversity, transformation. What do you mean by transformation? Underdogs, 11 was favorite. Okay. It's Baroda and not Gujarat. Okay. Okay, that's an error. Okay, but it should be Gujarat. But somewhere around there lies the answer as well.
Yeah.
What is underdog? They were.
Yeah. 11, yes. 2011, of course. Do you see this difference? Okay. Again, all of us pick up the differences from our lens. Okay, what we picked up was, if you see 83 was more Bombay, Delhi, Chennai, big city crowd in the 83. Of course, you had Kapil Dev, who came from, a small town and really made cricket what it is today for our country. But largely, it was focused on the larger cities. You see, 2011, look at the state representation, clearly a much more diverse team than the 83 one. And you're absolutely right, more expressive. It's a more confident India. I mean, so I don't know about the age of our audience today, but I know because I was there and I remember the moment when we won the World Cup, okay? It was not a confident team. We were not even sure we're going to make it. And so you can see it in the expressiveness or lack of it.
Even after they won, there was this constant state of, you can see that they're still puzzled. Okay, did this really happen to us? Kind of a feeling, right? And also the technology had changed. Previously, you had to sit in a uniform, sit down, and they'll come and click a picture. Now you have candid pictures.
Yeah, I think Harish is flying in and out. So we will continue. Oops.
Yeah. So I think that there is a lot of change, and the years, over the years, technology has advanced and we have gone deeper. We don't look at things that are superficial, things that are mainly the city. We look deeper now.
I'm sorry, even I am having some trouble. So give me a minute. I'm going to share my screen again.
You want any one of us to share the screen?
We'll have to email the document to you. So, okay, well, never mind. We should be able to manage. Don't worry. But I may not be able to show it in the full screen form because that I think sometimes causes this problem for me on Zoom. Can you see this picture, or I will?
You can see Vaijayanti.
Yeah. Okay, look at this. Another interesting piece here.
So tell us, from Iron Man to Black Widow, what is that you see? Imagine that you are a part of Marvel Cinematic Universe, okay? And you are the director over there. Now you want to get something different for 2022 and 23, okay? And you're trying to analyze the progression from 2008 to 2021. What is that you see? Because if you don't know what has happened before, how are you going to plan what is going to happen next? Okay, Wheel Woman. Okay. Anyone else? Dr. Ketna says Wheel Woman.
Women from different planets other than Earth.
Okay, very good.
Okay, what else? So do you see how, it started off as the Iron Man, who was white male Superman, Iron Man. Then you had a black person or an African American who entered as a part of the superhero league, followed by a white woman, right? And then comes an African American woman. So you can see how it is showing the evolution of that particular society, right? So what's happening? The world of our products, the world of our services reflects the changes that are happening. So again, you think about it. If you were to imagine the next Marvel character, what do you think it should be? What should this character be like?
So it took like, and also look at the history. It took from 2008 to 2019. It took them so many years to transform from a man to a woman. And this is US. Okay. And it does take time. And what happens next? Now the society with technology is moving rapidly. So now we can expect some more changes. But if you were on the driver's seat, what would the next move be? Anyone else? Any ideas?
I think now this will be affected by the impact of Corona in the coming time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe the super person will wear a mask and yeah. So yeah, of course. But see, the whole thing is this transformation indicates changing times. And what Harish said is took 11 years to get to a woman to depict as a super character or a superheroine or whatever you want to call it. So this is it. So change is slow, but it does happen.
Now, recently, DC Comics did something. Are we aware of that? DC Comics basically had Spider-Man or Spider-Man or Superman. Spider-Man, I think, who was projected as having as being gay. You know, so you had bisexual, in fact. So I think times are changing, people are changing, and it's important for us to understand the pulse of the changing times. Our ideas are changing, and we will and we have to change with them. Business, sorry?
Yeah.
Vaijayanti, so now we come to this slide where we wanted to ask you, if you are deciding on having a driver, okay, what are your points for considering a driver? But who will that driver be? Like if you ask Kavita Lagate, who will the teacher be? She will be able to give like 5, 6 over the years of experience that she has had. But what if we were to ask you, what are your considerations if you have to get a driver to drive your car? Okay, who will that driver be? But what are the qualities that you look for in the driver of your vehicle? Anybody? You can use the chat box as well.
He will be good for multiple things, not only one job of the driver,
okay,
but he can do many other things to support the either owner or whatever call it.
Perfect. Thank you, Karan. For good concentration, says Akash. Kavita also says good concentration.
Okay.
Anyone else? Excellent driving skills. Good direction.
Eyesight. Good eyesight.
Good eyesight. Farhan. Very good.
He should not be drunkard, or he should be able to repair the car in case it becomes failure.
Okay. Shravi, thank you. Excellent driving sense, skills, good direction sense, punctual. These all are parameters, okay? Very focused, pick up and drop schedules.
He should be expert driver even if he is drunk.
Oh, expert driver even if he is drunk. Wow, wow, wow.
So this is the first time I'm hearing that it's only driving. It doesn't matter if he's drunk. So, okay. So just pause here. Again, I'm using the word, just pause. Right? What did we notice? All of you had different parameters for essentially the same task that was to be done. And all of you, and that includes women also, have used he everywhere. He. We've never even thought that it could be a she or a trans person or whatever. He, right? And when we ran this exercise on me, and I must share this with you. For me, it was, of course, driving to hona hi chahiye, shouldn't be drunk, like another woman said, right? And should live close by. Then when we asked, another man about the same thing, so for that person, it was driving aani chahiye, bas that's it, and should come on time. Ye drunk angle didn't come. When we asked Harish the same question, it's very surprising what he said. He said, of course, driving aani chahiye, drunk wunk pata nahi, chalega, but the person should be non-judgmental. And I looked at him and I said, why are you saying that? He said, see, the way I am, I don't want my driver to be judgmental about me. I'm a gay person, so I'm different. And the penny dropped on all of us that, where we are. So people like us sometimes cannot even imagine the world of somebody else. And that thought, that this non-judgmental thing, like we've done this like a survey on so many people, didn't come up even once with anybody. But when we ran it on Harish, he says, no, I don't want the person to be judgmental. So where we are, our reality actually tells us whether we see the world to be fair, right? Or whether we don't see it to be as fair. Correct? So the view for each one of us depends on where we are. So for me, as a woman of a certain age, okay, for me, I didn't even look at it from a safety angle. I didn't think of that as important. But there was another young girl in our team. She says, no, I want this person to be decent. So each one of us sitting where we are, imagine the world very, very differently. And so that's what it is. If you see, this is like a food chain, small fish, big fish, and a bigger fish. Take Harish's example again, from where we are, from his reality, and the reason he fought for that Article 377 abolishment is that there is no justice in the world. So you imagine that for me, there is no question of identity problem. I'm a woman, and I'm straight. I don't have an identity challenge. For somebody like Harish, he has to fight for it, fight for identity when he's also gender fluid. So this is what makes this whole issue around inclusion very, very complex, because sometimes when we have that privilege, it doesn't even strike us that somebody else's world could be so different. Like even a driver could get judgmental and, could look at him in a very judgmental way. And he didn't want that. It made him very uncomfortable. So he didn't like that.
And also, we all are, we are not monolithical. We are not like one, we just have one characteristic. Like for instance, you could be a small fish, but you could be a small shark in the pond, okay, which feeds on other fishes, or a swarm of sharks is more dangerous than a big shark, right? So there are many times, like for me, I had now Shadi.com has started in the world of business. Shadi.com has started LGBT matrimony. So many years before, in 2015, there was an advertisement that was out, which my mother had put out, which said caste. It was my mother looking for a groom for me, and it was in 2015. And my grandmother walked into the room and she said, tum log kya kar rahe ho? And we were not serious at that time, because at that time we had Section 377. We didn't know if things will work, whether they are really going to put up the ad. But in my mother's mind, that is what was marriage. Otherwise, it was considered all dating and stuff. So when we were framing the ad, my grandmother came into the room and she said, and she was 85 years that time, now she's around 90 odd. And so she came into the room and she said, kya kar rahe ho? And then my mother said, Harish ke liye matrimonial ad dal rahe hain. So my grandmother said, ladka ya ladki farak nahi padta, bas Iyer hona chahiye. Okay, so we said caste no bar, but Iyer preferred. And we thought it was a good joke, and we put it out on the social media. So then it started making news for all the wrong reasons. People started pointing out that, you know what, this is not your experience of being someone who belongs to a marginalized caste. How did you put it over there? What I saw as humor, I thought I'm from a marginalized community. I'm gay. I'm from a marginalized community, so I can get away by saying anything in the spirit of humor. But then I was cornered and I had to take my statement back. I couldn't pull out the ad because it was always already published. But I had to take my statement back and issue an apology because it was not my lived experience. So it was not for me to say, have a say about it. You know, I can't tell ki a joke hai when it's not my experience. I don't know if I've not gone through that pain at all. So how am I to decide whether it's a joke or it's not a joke? So we all are privileged in some way or the other. Even the most unprivileged person that we assume is unprivileged could be privileged also. So it all depends on which lens you watch things from. You've shared with sound, Vaijayanti?
Yes, yeah, I've shared with sound. Let's just try this. We're going to share a little video with you.
ये किन्नर भी ना परेशान करने आ जाते हैं।
अरे नहीं माँ जी, कुछ लेने नहीं देने आई हूँ। बगल में मेरी चाय की दुकान है और बारिश में सब अटके हुए थे तो सोची सबको एक एक कप चाय पिला दूं। लीजिए लीजिए ना, ला आप भी लीजिए। आती हो?
अरे सुनो,
हाँ
जरा इधर आओ।
अरे नहीं माँ जी, आज पैसे नहीं लूंगी।
पैसे कौन दे रहा है? सदा सुखी रहो। रेड लेबर, स्वाद अपनेपन का।
I think the clip is actually quite self-explanatory. Yeah, Harish, you were saying something?
I think it's the lens that we watch people from. Like your lens that you watch people from. Like you watch it from the lens of, if you watch it from the lens, the things that we see all the time, we assume that it's going to be that time. The best for me, the takeaway was not the whole thing that happened. It's the woman in the car blessing the other woman, other trans person. It's often seen the other way. Hum log trans people, especially hijra people, not trans people alone, but hijra trans people ko, hum log ko lagta hai ki we have to go and take blessings from them. But here that was the inverse. Whereas everyone else saw ki arey wo khana dene aayi hai, that caught them. For me, what actually dropped the penny was that part when this person blesses the other person, because they don't receive blessings from other people. They only give blessings. That's how it's seen.
Okay, so just a little quiz and we can do a rapid fire here. You can see a few images, 6 images, 6 professions, you know. Anyone wants to take a guess at, say, image A? What do you associate image A with? Let's do only 2, because I think in the interest of time, otherwise we'll overshoot our budgeted time. So just let's do A and B. Okay, let's look at A. Any guesses? Put it on the chat box.
E is marketing head. Image A is a model.
Okay. And B? Any guesses for B? B is a professional. Okay. All right. So we just tell you. So we've, of course, not shown real pictures, but these are stories of real people that we have internally. So we have a, you know, like a transgender person A, who actually works in our treasury. All right. And similarly, the person B, who's an older person, works in the customer service or the call center piece. So the thing is that sometimes our own physical identities also try to box us into, and sometimes they become synonymous with our skills, right? In reality, there's no reason for doing that, but we do, but it happens. We associate a certain profile, which means physical markers, with certain professions. So for example, we ran, I think another exercise we ran. So, a lot of teachers, when we ask people, they always associated teachers with women and professors with a combination of men and women. I mean, there's no logic. Can I have
Doctors
anybody?
and nurses also.
Doctors and nurses. This is a very old stereotype. But it is true that our physical markers generate in our mind a kind of a stereotype. Talking of stereotypes, Harish, shall we play the next clip?
Yes.
Okay. I hope the screen and sound is decent. I'm sorry we're having some trouble. It's fine? Yeah.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for their daily races, going nowhere, and their tears are filling up their glasses. No expression, no expression. Mad world, mad world.
I think the clip was quite self-explanatory. I think we do, I mean, it happens. I don't know if there is a woman in this room today who may not have experienced some of the stuff. And if she has not experienced it, I think that's fantastic. It means that we are moving towards greater inclusion. There's no doubt about that.
Or even men who want to express their emotions and they can't. I mean, they have to keep it bottled in, so it's not empowering one gender to disempower another gender. It doesn't empower. It actually has a ripple effect.
Yeah. So again, in men, there are types of men, right? And we know that not all men are very assertive. Not all men are extroverted. And sometimes, even in companies or in any institution, because of a predominant bias towards extraversion, we see that kind of an exclusion happens even within men. So it's really, so when we talk of diversity and hence impact on inclusion or people not getting excluded, one is of course all these physical markers. The other is how we think, how we talk, communicate, how we process information, right? So somebody is a slow communicator, we immediately try to box them. Somebody is not as assertive, we try to box them. The idea in inclusion is to really create those spaces for everybody. And so it goes back to the driver example, non-judgmental and accepting of people for simply being the way they are. And it's hard, because we as human beings are wired to be in tribes. But before we jump to any conclusion, so how do I do this? I mean, how can I prevent bias? How can I prevent prejudice, stereotyping? It comes naturally to all of us. So we actually thought, a small tool, and we kind of used it once or twice with you. I hope you do remember. Pause. Every time you're, making a snap decision, or you are reaching to a rapid conclusion, or even not such a rapid conclusion, just pause. Are there any, am I operating from a certain paradigm? Have I really tried to explore, other possibilities? Am I leading with questions or am I leading with my own answers? Am I curious or am I judgmental? So It's a simple tool, and we hope that, that will kind of help you to anchor your own decisioning, your own thought process. So simple little tool. Yes, Harish, this is your favorite image.
So, was there a time in your life? Okay, just look at this image, and what do you see in this image? I mean, what comes out to you? What does this image tell you? Farooq, we are having a problem doing the full screen. Okay, that's why we have tried and maximized it this way. Left out, okay.
Yeah.
Are there some adjectives that you could associate with isolated and alone?
Yeah, why me?
Why me?
Yeah. And do you notice how it's such a young crowd, they're children?
Yeah. And children can be very kind, but they can also be very cruel without realizing. Okay, they wouldn't understand the repercussions. I remember when I was in, I'm a trained Bharatnatyam dancer. So there was this time when I used to learn Bharatnatyam. There was this one woman, and I used to come up with the most. I'm an empath, so I used to go and tell people what they feel even before they could feel. They could tell that they're feeling so. There was this one woman who used to have a patch on her face, and I went up to her once and I told her. She didn't come and tell me anything, and she was like at least like 10 years older than me. So I went up to her and I told her that I know you're sitting separately because you think you look ugly, but you look very pretty. Okay. And she got so offended because I had no business of going and telling her those things. So sometimes even exclusion or discriminatory language is not always intended to be discriminatory language. It is sometimes intended well, but you end up saying things which you don't want to say. It's happened to us many a times. Now, I don't want to go and tell this person this thing, and you've told your mind so many times that when that person actually comes, you actually tell the person that, I had this thing in my mind and I didn't want to tell you, and you actually tell the person. It's like this. I don't know. I don't know how many of you all in 1990s there was this. I remember this thing where Pooja Bhatt had come in this. It was a Filmfare or Stardust magazine where the whole body was painted. So she called it a birthday suit, and she was painted completely, and she was in the nude and she was painted over there. So that a magazine released, and then it was banned because of censorship and other things. But then there was an article in Midday or one of these papers, Daily or Midday, one of these papers, which showed that this is the photo that was banned, and they published the photo. Okay, so many a times, without us intending to say something, what did this newspaper do? They just printed the photo. I don't remember the name of the name of the publication, but they printed the photo saying that this photo is banned, whereas actually adding to more copies of that photo. So morality is another issue. But I was just referring to, even if people prohibit us, even if we feel bad, how do we? There are ways that it kind of irks us, and we end up doing the thing that people had forbade us from doing.
Yeah. And also, like we said earlier, right? I mean, it's a human tendency to be in a tribe, right? People like us, people we like being with, people we enjoy interacting with. So inclusion to that extent is actually a learned behavior. Because if you see, these are kids, they're children, and yet they also form groups, right? I mean, I remember each one of us, I remember those good old days of local trains, train gang, college batch, ye batch, JBIMS batch. We move like that. We move in packs, we move in tribes. So becoming more inclusive is is actually it's difficult and it's a learned behavior. So we've got to train our mind and simple tools, it's not just use things like pause, just get more curious about the other person, just get more non-judgmental, little things that make a big difference. So I don't know how we are doing on time, Kavita. Maybe we will try to, speeden it up. You tell us.
I just have a small comment on this last photo where I say the child in the yellow t-shirt is learning to be non-judgmental.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
I'm saying that, we are judging that, he is feeling excluded, but actually he's looking the things from a distance.
Okay.
And trying to say that, how can I be non-judgmental here also?
Sure. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Very
Perspectives.
Nice. Yeah, exactly.
We never saw it that way.
like that. Oh,
Could I say something? I would like to say something. I'm Ketnaya. Hi, Harish.
Hi.
We were together at Citibank Diversity Talk years ago.
Yes,
you stay very close to my house. SIS school was your school, right? I still remember our conversation. So the way I look at this picture is, what about the other 5 children who are sitting in a huddle there? What is a sensitivity in our education system that we can bring about such that, because generally the exclusion happens by a tribe, by a group, by a collective, right? And it is left up to people like Harish, with people like us at Nina Foundation who have spinal cord injury and are on wheelchairs, to self-advocate, to create our own space. But I think a bigger campaign and a bigger efforts has to be by, the rest of them, how to create a mindset to be inclusive.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point, because, the younger you start, the better it is. And a lot of these stereotyping or boxing actually happens at a young age. But we will also share with you, we actually saw something pretty heartening a few days ago, in terms of the way the family is getting depicted in school books. So we'll share that. Maybe there is a change underway, but there's lots more we can do. And you're so right. I mean, curriculum, the way we design curriculum, the way we provide access and opportunities to different kinds of students. I think, these are things to really think about. Thank you for bringing about that point. I think somebody has raised their hand. Jnanesh, I think. Jnaneshwar. Yeah. Yes, please. Jnanesh, would you want to unmute and say something? Okay. All right, let's proceed. I'm just again asking, Kavita, how are we doing on time? Because I think we're 7:04. So you tell us, but okay, here is a case study, and you tell us, who would you choose? And here, the more of you participate, it'll be fantastic. I hope you can read it. Otherwise, maybe Harish, you want to read it aloud for everybody? Harish, you're on mute. We can't hear your beautiful voice.
This is a rural marketing opportunity, and you're scouting for the best of talents from across the area. The job will require the candidate to travel, interact, and influence rural customers with their gift of the gab to buy a new tractor that can ride through the hilly terrains with mud with absolute ease. Hilly terrains and mud with absolute ease. You have interviewed 2 candidates. Both are wonderful. One is a man and the other is a woman. Both are of the same age, are from the same nearby town, and speak the local language eloquently. They went to the same college, also scored the same marks. Both aced the cognitive test and showed no red flags in the psychometric instrument, and did well in the selection process. Who do you choose? A man and a woman in a rural setting. Both are equal in all the other aspects when they speak about gift of the gab and speaking, convincing, psychometric tests, cognitive tests, everything, they both are either same or very similar. Who would you choose and why?
Just give your responses on the chat box, man or a woman. First, at least let's get to who would you choose, and then maybe we can process it a bit.
So rural, it's a rural space. Both of them belong to a village. They can speak the local language. One is a man, one is a woman. Who would you choose, or who do you think will get the job? If it's not you, if somebody else is in the manager's seat,
yeah,
who do you think will get the job?
Right. Karun says women. Perception as salesperson is better in women. Okay, Karun.
Wonderful.
Any other responses? It's okay. There are no right or wrong answers, honestly, in this. It's just to get more views, more perspectives, because no issue is very unidimensional, right?
And also, don't imagine you in that situation.
Yeah.
Imagine that it's somebody else, because you will have a city-based view on the whole thing. Who do you think, if there is a manager over there, who do you think the manager will choose? The man, because travel and rural region, okay. Both because both are, no, there's only one job. There's only one life jacket, Akash. Yeah.
Okay.
So
anybody wants to say anything? So that we put out this thing quite carefully. And what Kavita said, has written actually as a response is exactly what comes up a lot. It's a rural area, a lot of travel is required. How do we hire a woman? Okay, so this is again an issue which doesn't have any simple answers, because you also have to make the environment more inclusive for the women, right? So, for example, you have to work with the community, because many times we've seen women are very keen, the family is not very keen. So unless you build that work with the community, women are willing, but eventually they drop out, right? So the inclusion has to also sometimes include the families as well. So it's not an easy answer to give. The other concern, many times we hear, and honestly in this century we shouldn't be talking, but we still talk, loose for women. They are on the beat the entire day. Where do they go? So the whole infrastructure also sometimes comes in the way of including different kinds of people into our environments and giving them that economic advantage. So that's the real point we were trying to tease out here. I mean, if you just go, and there is another view that somebody expressed, had expressed, is that, well, if we want more women and we want more diversity, we go for the women, which is also known as affirmative action, right? Which means you discriminate positively and get more women. She's great. And it is her choice. Let her say no. Why should we assume things for the woman? Why not give her the voice?
Yeah.
If she says, nahi, main nahi aa sakti, my family will not allow, ye nahi jamega, to chhod do. But we don't decide for her. Yes, Harish.
And this is what, if you look at social movements, this is precisely what happens. You know what happened with Pinjara Tod. So basically, this was a movement in Delhi where girls had to reach the hostel at a certain time because there would be something that the girls could get attacked by boys. So boys could roam outside until whatever time they wanted, but girls had to come to college at a certain time because girls would get attacked. So, but the boys who were the perpetrators, okay, or could have been the perpetrators largely. I mean, women also could be perpetrators, but in this case, there was no restriction on them. So there was a huge movement कि पिंजरा तोड़ देते हैं अभी करके. So I think it's important for us to even see that we don't decide for somebody else who can decide for themselves. So many a times we don't give people who are different the voice and the choice. And if we are able to give the voice and choice to people, then possibly we'll build a more equitable workforce.
I think we will skip this situation, Harish. I think we are really going to otherwise run out of time.
Yeah.
So yes, so that's it. So pause again, think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if my natural tendency to say in that, let's say I'm the recruiter, is to say, oh, but you know, the customers will not adjust. There'll be resistance from the family. Pause. Is there another way I can maybe look at the whole situation? Just use this 90-second tool. I'm sure you've read about it. You know, that 90 seconds gives you the breathing space between a reaction and a response.
Hmm.
Mm.
You know, I'll just, okay, these are the different tools that are available. You could intervene. You know, we shouldn't be taking pride in bystanderism all the time. There are times when you can intervene, even as companies, intervene, argue, empathize, push back. All these are not negative terms. To tell that, you know, I disagree with you might not be the wrong thing to do. Okay. It is not what you say many a times, it is how you say many a times that creates the culture of inclusion. You could completely disagree with a person without being nasty to the person. Right? And to add to Karun's point, okay, all things are related qualifications and basic qualities of men and women need to be only seen. Karun, I have a different view over here. Many a times the opportunities itself, access itself is not given. So like, for instance, let's take a person with physical disability and a person who doesn't have physical disability. The person with physical disability, if you just look at qualifications and qualities, many a times will not get, because many colleges, this person with physical disability has not even gone and not even visited, not even had the opportunity to go in this thing. So opportunities itself are not there. So when opportunities are not there, access is not there, you can build equality. What you're saying is a classic case of equality, but there is no equity over there. When you don't look at a person as a whole, their entire experiences as a whole, there is no equity. So that's my way of looking at things.
In southern part of the country, there are a lot of women who take pride and then who lead the house. So
Yes.
If the decision makers are the ladies, then maybe the women can play a more important role in sales business.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. In fact, you're right. Even in banking, you know, in some of the roles, in relationship manager roles, we see that women do very well. They're able to build rapport. They're able to build relationship. We agree with you. It's just that, you know, I think inclusion happens when when you create that whole environment that allows for inclusion to happen. So we have to go that extra mile. It can't be, you know, just hiring and putting people is only one part of the story, but getting them to experience belongingness is the harder part. Right? Yeah. So I will not...
As Harish has said, that while appointing a driver, he would like him to be non-judgmental. Even for appointing a sales representative, I would like to be non-judgmental.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Karun. Yeah, Vaijayanti.
Yeah. So over here, you know, the only, like, when you're trying to, you know, create a culture of inclusion, We spoke about so many things. We spoke about our mindset, our bias, the language we use, the impact our words are having on others. So I think if we look at our impact on a time scale, my actions as a supervisor, manager, impact in 10 minutes in that immediate term. And if I repeat that behavior and nobody calls out, nobody intervenes, nobody pushes back, it will have a medium term behavior. It will set a certain culture. And nobody ever does anything and I'm allowed to continue in my own methods, then over a long time, it really creates a culture where only a certain kind of a person is going to go ahead, is going to get all the rewards. So in fact, today, at least, where we are working today, we're talking about leadership ecosystems, where all kinds of flora and fauna can thrive. Earlier conversations around leadership used to be around DNA, attributes, which is like a fixed template. So we are acknowledging that the genes need to be modifying all the time. And the important thing is the words I'm using, my conduct, the environment I'm creating has an impact on the entire time scale, which is why if you're a leader, then your behaviors and actions actually cast a long shadow. You may feel ki, okay, once you've said something, if somebody kept on calling me emotional without taking corrective action, then, in spite of over a period of time, that relationship may have eroded. But this person who said that to me came back and said, oh, I didn't know you had such an impact, like you felt so bad. So acknowledgement, so that 10-minute stayed at 10 minutes, didn't turn to 10 weeks, didn't turn to 10 months. So that's the whole thing. You impact people and therefore culture over the long term. So pause, 90 seconds. I think a point was made earlier, right? Around, how we can impact, right? Starting at academia. So I don't know if the screen is that visible, but if you see that, it is, right? So if you see the definition of the family, you can see how it's evolving. Earlier it was, hum do hamare do se karke. It's getting more diverse. You can see single mother, single father. You can see two fathers, two mothers. So once this starts happening, a lot of things keep changing. And what we're talking about, being non-judgmental and accepting, becomes that much easier. Yeah. Harish, you want to talk about that middle wala and the,
See, society is a changing phenomena. So society is not something that is static. So जब लोग कहते हैं ना कि अरे हमारे society में तो allowed नहीं है, तो society is not static. So society is always in a state of transformation. So the second photograph that you see over here, there's an ad about a husband and wife, okay, going to the registrar's office, and the registrar is a woman. And what they do over there is that the husband takes the wife's surname. Okay, so this is and I personally know of many people. Not that every wife who takes the husband's surname is regressive or anything of that kind. That kind of branding is also wrong. But I'm just saying that the times are changing. Okay, there were norms which were always considered to be, from a patriarchal mindset, it was considered to be okay for a wife to take the husband's name, but never considered a norm for a husband to take the wife's name. Like suddenly, previously I remember there was a generation when I was growing up. There was a generation where every time the woman would get married, she would take the husband's surname. But later, I also saw a generation where if a woman got married, she would keep her surname and take the husband's surname also. Okay, so Sonam Kapoor Ahuja, okay, is one example. Kareena Kapoor Khan is another example. So there was a state where you used to take this, and now you have this thing saying that, hey, I will I don't mind taking my wife's name. I mean, I don't mind kya. I mean, she has taken, if there is a choice, then I prefer her surname to mine, than she taking mine. So there is this option that is there. Now, looking at the changing state of affairs and changing state of, this was a very popular LinkedIn post where there was a man who got into the women's compartment. Okay, I mean, it might be like a revelation. There is nothing called the men's compartment. Okay, there's a general compartment and there is a women's compartment. Okay, so women can actually travel anywhere except the cancer compartment or the person with disability compartment. They can sit anywhere if they want to. So, but the man cannot actually walk into the women's compartment. Okay, so now what happened is this man walked into the women's compartment and sat in a corner, and all the women over there started screaming, yelling, shouting, saying that you have a compartment, you have the other compartment, why don't you go over there? Okay, and this man very politely told the woman that, I'm very upset, I'm very low, and I can't cry in the general compartment. I can't cry in the general compartment. So I've come to the women's compartment so that I can express myself the way I want. And there was this very beautiful post written very beautifully that was sharing, that was being shared everywhere, and my friends were sharing it all the while with details of this particular incident. So many a times we assume, we look at people from the lens of people who are perpetrators or people who are trying to be bold and strong all the time. But also we forget the fact that vulnerability is real strength. The strength to cry and to be unabashed about your emotions is a privilege, is a strength too. And that many a times we don't afford to the gender that's usually seen as a dominant gender worldwide. So that was one interesting, these were the three interesting things that we thought we should just show you. I don't remember what ad the middle one is, but it's there on, I don't remember the brand, but yeah, but there is this ad which is very, which is there on social media. You can just go to YouTube and find the ad, right? So I think times are changing. Our advertisements are changing. Remember, you look at any of the ads, which washing machine ads nowadays. You remember the old washing powder ad? What? Hema, Rekha, Jaya, or Sushma, sabki pasand nirma. Okay, so it was all Hema, Rekha, Jaya, and Sushma. Okay, there was no man in the thing, and it had all women in the ad. But now if you go to see, you see men in washing machine ads, you see men in washing powder ads. Okay, so things are changing, the world is changing. And if you're going to, and probably it's a cycle also, probably we'll come to the same time where we started over a period of time, but we have to be in tune with the language and the ethos that is prevalent right now. And of course, keep working to create a more equitable space for all of us.
Okay, so before we sign out, we thought we'll show you a video. Maybe some of you have seen it, but it's quite interesting. So let's watch it and then we conclude.
The celebrityhood. When is Sanya going to settle down? Is it going to be in Dubai? Is it going to be in any other country? What about motherhood? Building a family? I don't see that in the book. It seems that you don't want to retire just yet to settle down.
You don't think I'm settled?
Well, you don't seem to talk as yet of retirement. You don't talk in the book about raising a family, motherhood. What's life beyond tennis going to be?
You sound disappointed that I'm actually not choosing motherhood over being number one in the world at this point of time. But I'll answer your question anyway. That's a question that I face all the time as a woman. That's one of the questions as women we have to face all the time. Is first is marriage and then is motherhood. Unfortunately, that's when we are settled. And no matter how many Wimbledons we win or number one in the world, we don't become settled. But yeah, eventually it will happen. Not right now, but eventually it will happen. And when it does happen, I will be the first one to tell everybody when I plan to do that.
You know, I must apologize in a sense. I think I phrased that question very badly. I promise you, you're right. I would never ask this question to a male athlete, when are you settling down?
I'm so glad, Rajiv, you first ever journalist. You see this love-hate relationship, first ever journalist who has apologized to me on national television.
I'm apologizing for asking you, when will you settle down? But I must ask you this, and we always ask sportsmen when they write biographies, is this about legacy? You know, about...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. What did we understand from this? Is there something that we understood? There are two things that you take. What are your takeaways from this particular video that you saw? Two takeaways. Anybody? Gender bias, okay.
Yeah, men are biased about women going better in the career, but settling down in the form of motherhood, etc. So men are biased to think like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not men, women are also biased to think like this.
It's the expectation setting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. कि शादी होगी, बच्चे होंगे. Then how will you play tennis? You will retire.
So for me, there were 2 points. One is, if there's something wrong, okay, there you don't have to wait for 10th day after Eid or 5th day after Christmas or 20 days after Purnima to call out at that moment. Call out in a polite way. It doesn't have to be social media frenzy and do all that thing, but tell the person that you didn't appreciate something. Okay, you can say it in the most polite and the most decent ways. And second thing is, if something wrong has happened and you realize that you've done a mistake, you again don't have to wait for a good day to apologize. You can apologize at that very moment. I mean, both of them are, I mean, you might like Rajdeep, not like Rajdeep, might follow tennis, might not follow tennis. But one thing is sure, that both of them are stalwarts in their own field. And you're never too big or never too small to call out or to apologize. Okay, so that was this thing. And we often look at women from the lens of settling down is not winning a medal, not winning not doing her PhD. Settling down for a woman is बच्चे कितने हुए और बच्चे कैसे कर रहे हैं. Okay, not even now, it's even gone beyond that. Which school are these children studying? How much percentage did the children get in their 10th exam? So that determines the worth of the woman, So I think things have to change, and things are changing for the better. But it all depends on our lenses. I think we need to change our lens many a times to create more equitable spaces for everybody. And
I saw that the one adult behavior from both the sides. Like if Rajdeep made a mistake, Sania pointed out very openly, and he accepted and apologized. And meanwhile, Sania also appreciated his apology. So both the behaviors are very matured behavior, adult behavior.
True.
That is true. Yeah. Calling out and responding with grace. I think that's, you're so true. Okay. So so we bring our session to an end with this statement, the inclusion statement. The onus of inclusion lies on those who are included, not on those who are excluded. So the ones who belong, to the included set have to reach out, go and build the bridge and make them a part of the whole circle, right? वो नहीं कि if somebody is already outside, they make every effort, they make all the adjustments, and then they enter, then you magnanimously open the door and maybe let them in. It's a whole new way, maybe like Harish says, different lens, a different way of doing things.
So thank you very much. If there are any, we'll be here for another 2 minutes or something. If there's anything that you'd want to tell us, want to share, connect with us even afterwards, you can reach out to Vaijayanti, you can reach out to me, reach out to Kavita ma'am. We'll be more than happy to associate with you in any form that you want.
Thank you, Vaijayanti. Thank you, Harish. As I said right in the beginning, that we are going to see a change in our thinking attitude throughout this session, and you challenged us many times by asking questions that what is your coterie? How do you select them? Since then, till the time that you showed us Sania Mirza objecting and Rajdeep Sardesai very sportingly apologizing, and she accepting the apology and mentioning that yes, I will come back. I think the whole evening went through the lens that you showed us. I think we will become more sensitive to the words that we are going to use. At this point in time, if anyone wants to make any comment, please raise your hand, unmute yourself, you can say something. In the meantime, I'll request all of you to please put on your videos so that the secretariat team can take the memory, and we will be sharing with you the BMA smiling moments. For BMA smiling moments, I think please keep your videos on for some time. Ketana madam, thank you for being today with us. Kavita Shetty, who joined today for the first time, for making
Thank you
it
so
very
much,
interactive.
ma'am. And it was really a wonderful experience. The learning from today is hello, everybody. Really, it makes a lot of difference.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And as our regular members, Shri Karun Sharma ji and Jnaneshwar ji, who were here today throughout the session, thank you very much. Tasneem, with your students, we enjoyed it. Thank you for being there at this BMA webinar. Pramod Bhai, your blessings and your presence in the webinar is blessing that I always count on. So thank you for being there. And Vaijayanti, Harish, both of you were excellent in giving us food for thought. So many incidences you have just in the passing mentioned that made me think that do I really behave this way? And if so, I would definitely try and modify.
Kavita, I want to tell that this was a very unusual subject, very nicely handled, and we have got a good knowledge of the topic, which is normally not touched by many people. So we are proud of the faculty and also proud of our president also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we'll stop here, but I will wish you all a happy Republic Week, I'll say, because the celebrations are this year starting from 23rd with Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's birthday, and it will continue. We will have a break on 26th, the Wednesday, but on 28th, we will have celebrating Indian managers who made a difference. And this time we are celebrating our own Professor Y.K. Bhushan. Do join us at 6 o'clock for celebrating an Indian manager who made a difference. And many of us are touched by Professor Y.K. Bhushan's teaching and his contribution to our lives and the society. Thank you very much.
With your kind permission, I want to tell we are having a good event on the budget analysis on 3rd February BMA and many other bodies are joining. So please do attend that. We'll send you the link of that.
Yes, we will circulate the link for the event. And thank you very much. Have a good evening. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.